So today I'm gonna try to restart the WICSO, but instead of doing it in a fantasy world, we're just gonna do it in real life. So instead of doing the Europe start as everyone else kind of does, we're gonna do the American start, which I haven't seen anyone do yet. So I'm gonna say we start in Mexico with the first people not black, the first people rising up in, well, appearing in the Yukon with massive, well, they've been exploring quite a lot before setting up the green civilization. Because I don't want to start with red. And it's slider colours. So, with the green civilization starting, with them taking quite a lot of the Yukon Peninsula. They also then do send explorers out, no, not to colonise the unexplored land, to explore the unexplored land, discovering the opposite coast of Mexico, or the Central American region as well. They kind of explore a ton before continuing to explore around the coast. This map is very pixely, as I didn't have time to edit the map I use, so I just nicked one off the Adis Pro Discord. So I will translate this to the map I use as soon as I have time to prepare it. Anyway, they continue to push around a bit, taking over this kind of land, before a conflict occurs. With the people up here kind of wanting to stop expansion and focus on kind of like building up a bit, like maybe making a navy, because they've discovered some few islands around here, which may mean there is further islands, such as Cuba, which they could explore, which does lead to the original area kind of breaking away, kind of wanting to start their own republic. The green team doesn't really notice this for now, as they continue exploring. However, when the government does realise this has happened, they firstly try to invade the pink team, which the pink team kind of has more population, so they manage to kind of, in fact, push them back a bit. But then they agree to peace talks as they realise the pink team is only really broken away as they want to explore the ocean, which the green team reluctantly accepts, with them kind of agreeing to work together for now, as they kind of have basically medieval equipment with like basic swords and that lot, and they don't really fancy to fight a major war just after a few, probably 200 years after they formed. And they're pretty unstable as well, as you can see by the fact that the pink team just straight up just broke away. Anyway, the pink team to start to upgrade their boat range, and actually discovering the island of Cuba, which is a major discovery, as it proves they are right about them possibly being more islands that are bigger. This does also then lead to them making a small colony on Cuba. The green the green nation kind of starts to doesn't dislike the pink team anymore, as they have actually proved them wrong, with there being more land and not along the coast. This does lead to them to slightly upgrade their navy. However, if you do notice, there is no islands around them, so they are a little annoyed. However, with this boosted navy, and it's shrinking down a bit, they do manage to explore the coast a lot more, also using, like, carrying some boats over, discovering all of around this lake, and they do realise boats are kind of superior to walking, as they explore a lot more land as they used to be able to. And they do kind of leave massive gaps between their knowledge, but that can always be sorted out later with a funded expedition of walking people. With the boats being sorted, the green team sends boats this way, as Cuba was found this way, discovering Jamaica somehow, as they kind of island hop over to it. They also discovered that this part of Cuba thinking it's a different island, as for now they don't know about this chunk here. But they explore around a bit, eventually setting up a colony in Jamaica that takes over the island fully, and also kind of starting to focus on their own expansion on the mainland, focusing more around the coastal regions, as they know about the boats kind of being a good way to trade, which will probably lead for now a lot of central countries not forming. But also we do then have them exploring a foot a bit more as they are around the area, basically pretty much fully discovering the entire of Central America, as they kind of use boats to discover the North and South America, which they just kind of think is like Mexico, but it's just a reverse thing, as they don't really know what's beyond this point. And religion is still kind of a big thing. No, they do not take over the Black Lands, but eventually in Cuba they do manage to meet up with the pink explorers. Either way, they meet up somehow, and they discover Cuba is one island, not two. But this does lead to kind of a race to occupy as much of Cuba as possible between the two, which is currently a friendly race with them occupying this much. But this also leads to the pink team discovering the southern tip of Florida and some islands in the Bahamas. Not Bahamas. Also, the green team does also lead them to discovering the southern Bahaman island and most of Haiti. And all of Haiti, actually. Which does lead to them kind of focusing on kind of colonizing them, as it kind of keeps a kind of centralized control as they move their main colony in the region to Cuba. The pink team, kind of trapped towards the Mexican area. So they do actually try to attempt to buy land. This does not go well with some of their citizens, which will lead to the red team forming in Cuba, which is too close to the colour, and I want to do yellow team instead, forming in Cuba as they break away, as they think the government is trying to more focus on the quote-unquote mainland, as this is kind of the biggest landmass they currently know of, thinking Florida is probably also an island at this time, as they don't know about the Mexican Gulf of Mexico, which does kind of lead to the green team taking advantage of this chance and taking some of the pink team territory, and also starting to work more with the yellow team, which leaves the pink team in a weakened state, and they do then focus on exploring around Florida, with them finding it hard to actually reach the area, but eventually managing in the end. With them managing, sorry, just had to keep an eye on something for a second. Anyway, with pretty much all of Florida being discovered, they managed to make a colony in Florida. Let's hope this is more stable than their Cuban colony, which they do focus a ton on, kind of backing all of their attention away from the mainland. Well, they don't know it's part of the mainland yet, but anyway, they also do take a chance to take these islands here, kind of splitting the empire into two sections, which is probably not a good idea, but they can't really stop it for now. They fully discovered the Bahamas, well, the green team and pink team, and the green team fully discovers the Dominican Republic, and then does try to colonize the entire island, but does struggle a bit as they get further away from the actually built up areas. In Cuba, it's quite the same, as they kind of try to expand. As soon as they get too far away from the explored areas, they kind of slow down, leading to the yellow team seeing this expansion and quickly rushing down taking as much as Cuba as possible, which does kind of cut them off from expansion for now, as their navy is not as good as the green team and pink team. Well, yet anyway. If you see, the green team has expanded pretty fast. That's not normally a good thing, which will lead to some parts of the mainland breaking away, as they kind of feel neglected, leading to the red team forming in the north, and the blue team forming in the south, as they both kind of have a different culture to the mainland of Mexico, but also kind of want the Mexicans to, well, I say Mexico, they're probably more Mexican than them, but the green team to kind of do something, which the green team kind of just tells them, if you attack us, we'll just murder you. So the green team does invade a bit, but then just realizes there's probably no point, as they'll just rebel again, which is kind of just the theme of the green team, just letting the places rebel. I don't think the green team's lasted long. Anyway, the pink team has finally built up enough of an army to attack the yellow team, which they have been putting off for quite some time. A naval invasion is made in the original colony area, and the Harlan base does manage to take over that, leading to that island eventually falling, the green team managing to snag some land off it, and also then the pink team flooding their very small army into Cuba, eventually retaking it, executing the leaders publicly, and telling them if they rebel again, they will do this again. Meanwhile, they do also take some more Bahamian islands. No, they take all of the Bahamian islands that are now decided. Which does lead to the first country to ever be made in an episode, destroyed in an episode, and the first other country to be killed in an episode ever, so yay. I've also realised I forgot to do this part. I'm going to keep that to the next exclave. I think that would be funny. Anyway, the blue team, with the freedom to now expand wherever they want, or I mean whenever they want, they just start to expand, kind of forcing Mexico to give up this territory. Which I said it would be funny, but it would annoy me. Eventually leading to the blue team getting quite a lot of land in basically this area, as the the southern part of Central America kind of just becomes blue team, which we haven't done a lot of exploration for a while. So while they're expanding, the blue team does tons of expeditions around, well, this area they found, discovering this is like a massive landmass, which could just be this but flipped, but they don't know. Using their exploration, they do also set up minor colonies across the explored area, using it as a kind of base hub for exploration. Up in the north, this is repeated with the red team, with them firstly exploring this land as it's not as explored as the south, and eventually leading it to look like this. And then the red team starting to expand it, not as quickly as it is pretty much, I'm pretty sure it's mostly desert or mountains, or both. Anyway, they're not as quickly expanding as the blue team, but they do manage to get a pretty sizable country, and also sets up a colony up here, which does lead to further expansion in the area. And this is the current map. Pretty small compared to the rest of the world, but it's pretty compact. I've also realised this. I should probably focus more on the coast. But anyway, a expedition is kind of made between the red and pink team to see if these two areas are connected like they originally thought Cuba wasn't. So both sides start to explore up the coast of Mexico, well, America or Mexico, depending on which side you're on, eventually meeting up, discovering that Florida is part of the mainland. Well, it isn't. It's part of the main continent, it's not part of the mainland. There we go. Which they didn't think that maybe the blue team's discoveries down here might be a similar kind of thing up here, where it is a big landmass that kind of just surrounds them. And maybe they just started around a bunch of islands. They haven't found the smaller islands yet, so they probably won't think it's an island chain until the green team discovers Puerto Rico, which they then start to think it could be a chain of islands that run all the way out that way. But they're going to see it very soon. With the green team kind of stopping expansion for now, as these areas over here start to become a little rebellious, as the green team is kind of starting to get cut off by the blue and pink teams accidentally, or maybe on purpose to the pink team. As they are kind of between all of the major towers in other countries, they do start to fortify their borders, as if one of them attacks, the rest could always join in and kill them. So the green team becomes very superstitious. Anyway, up here, a new country will form after they explore a bit more. Just make it a little bit thicker. Which is the, I don't want to do yellow, purple team. Purple team will spawn on the coast of Texas, I think this is. And actually forming a pretty sizable country. Which does then send some explorers out to make sure they kind of know the surrounding area. Which goes successful. By the way, the map I knew did not get rid of this border. Anyway, I don't know how I'm gonna do what Avis did with like kind of Europe going to Asia, but I might do it where they go to, well, Argentina, or maybe Canada. You never know. Anyway, that's a bit like 5 episodes away, so I don't know why I'm talking about it now. I'm just going to check how long I've been recording, as I don't want a long video. As I want the first one to be kind of short. I'm going to say we have another 5 minutes. Unless I cut that out. Anyway, we have the blue team continuing to explore, not the water. Continuing to explore around the coast. Oh, I like this. Continuing to explore along the coast, go around this bay, kind of just discovering a ton of land with their boats. Very good, blue team. Anyway, the first major war of, well, true major war of the video will begin. You all guess who it might be against. Yes, it's against the green team. With the red team starting the push from the north, trying to reclaim their cultural areas, which is like that. Followed by the blue team doing the same thing, which is probably around that. And then the pink team joining in a little later, taking over the occupied areas that the green team took from them, which has a similar culture. In the meantime, they do also take they just fully occupy the colonies, which won't get annexed, because you'll see why. Anyway, the green team kind of agrees to surrender, as these old countries say, surrender or we will completely partition you. Anyway, the reason why these guys will not join the pink team is because you know the yellow country earlier. Yes, they rebel in Cuba, eventually leading to all of the green team's old colonies rebelling away as well. that this part of Cuba does manage to get annexed, so I guess that's alright. And the peace treaty is just they can't annex the parts that they got, kind of leaving the Green team in a weakened state. Let's hope they can find elsewhere to go. Trying to find a colour. I'll do light green, light blue. The blue team does decide, or the North blue team, like kind of asks the South if they can get independence, which the South kind of says yes, but we want to work together. So can we have the open border policy? Well, actually, open borders would be a thing back then. But anyway, they get independence from the rest of the blue team. Kind of looking like this, then taking the island. As over time, as this video probably took over 50 years in world time, actually probably like over 100, as their cultures kind of diverted, then another country asked for independence, which is that's way too close. Let's do light green, which is around the centre of these two, which asks for this area here, which they also accept, both sides. As new countries kind of form out of these guys. The red team does not face this issue as, firstly, it's probably around the different cultures probably around these parts and just kind of up here. However, the cultures are very similar to the red team. However, the blue team's cultures are a lot different, with this being more closer to the green team, which I might actually change the colour around a bit, because I don't like the colours. With this part being closer, and this kind of good colour, let's do light. There we go. With this country being closer to, thinking about it, surely that should be the real blue team. Sorry about this, it's just me being very indecisive. With the real blue identity kind of remaining up here, with the kind of expanded bits being a different identity, like mainly around this area, but this identity is kind of split between the two. So, yeah. Anyway, this is the end of this video. I hope this kind of new series and starting goes well. Depending on how the first video goes, I might not continue it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a nice day, and if you want this series to continue, please can you like this video and not actually subscribe for a series to continue. But if you do like the content I do, can you subscribe? And goodbye.